Hey YouTube, so I thought I'd make some videos of how I use junk dirt bikes, ATVs, motorcycles, etc. to make money. This is my full-time business. We did a little over $250,000 in sales for last year. It's just me. My wife helps ship, and I have one or two people help do teardowns here and there. For the most part, it's really easy. I mean, once you get into it, it's easy to find the machines. The hard part is the knowledge of what machines to buy. I'll make a video on that. If there's other questions you have that I don't cover, just give me a message, shoot me a comment, and I'll try to cover that one too. So this is the shop. That's the parts washer you hear running over there. A little bit of a mess right now. One of my biggest things is making sure to keep a clean shop. The more clean it is, the more productive it is. This here is a very clapped out Arctic Cat 2005 650 V2. Arctic Cats are some of the worst machines to part out. They also, you don't want to own one either. This is a Honda Rancher 420. It's got a broken spark plug. It's here clapped out XR50. I bought this as part of a big lot, so I don't know how much I paid for it. The Rancher 420 was like $300. The Arctic Cat was like $100. This Suzuki Vincent I actually picked up from the scrapyard. These are great for parts. This has an engine knock. I got this for $115. It's a little high for the scrapyard. Most scrapyards I've dealt with in the past have charged 3 times scrap price. And this one was 4 times scrap price, and they also said it weighed 500 pounds, which I don't think it does. This is a Grizzly 600 I picked up for $100 or so. It's a little gun. Came with free pliers, you know. These are good for part outs because the parts are getting harder and harder to get. This here is a Foreman 500. It's a 08. It's a little clap too. They did some kind of ghetto snow camo job on these white plastics. This Bayou 400. This was a steal of a deal. I picked this up for $100 out of Arkansas. From the original owner, clean title, pretty clean quad. I'm waiting on a few things. This left switch and battery, starter relay, something like that. This 4Trax 300, you know, everybody thinks they're the holy grail. I think it's slower than shit. I picked this up on a package deal for $400 or $500. This here Buell Blast, $100. It's missing some of the good parts, but right now we got this gigantic plastics pile right in the middle of the shop, and he didn't quite finish tearing this down when he left out the other day. So yeah, I mean, to do this, you don't need all the fancy stuff that I have at this point. You can make do with basic hand tools. This here is when you get into the engine, it gets a little tricky. This one's full of rust, so I thought I'd let it soak while I make a video. This is a XR or a CRF. This 07 CRF 80. This head looks like it's gone, but you can rebuild these, especially if I want to use this vapor blaster I have to pull the valves out, clean it all up, get it good to go. Right now I don't necessarily have the time to do that. These are some motors from some other machines that have been parted out recently that we haven't got to finish up. Lots of tools. I mean, we have a bunch of specialty pullers and such for all the flywheels, but it just took years to accumulate all of that. I think this might be the most expensive puller. It doesn't fit in a drawer. It's a SLP. I think I paid $80 for this. That was about 1.5 years ago. As long as you take good care of them, the stuff lasts. I'm a big fan of the Milwaukee tools. They seem to last. Not to mention, I can buy a new drill for 40 bucks on eBay, slightly used, like homeowner quality, because most of my stuff just gets ruined from being in oil. This is one of my favorite ones. We were breaking a lot of batteries, so instead of buying high dollar batteries, we buy the knockoffs. They work well. They break the same way as other ones do. So everything goes through the parts washer. I have some other videos of this Ranger RS 500. You don't necessarily have to have this, but it does get the crankcases and stuff like that, all that baked on red dirt. It does make it look better. It doesn't get it all the way off, but it gets it most of the way. We run everything through that. I take and use these racks with wheels to let it dry. For the most part, I really prefer tearing the engines all the way down. I know it's not for everybody, but some of these engines, just guaranteeing them, the shipping costs, I don't really like taking the loss when somebody wants to decide to return something. So the wheels are a little bit disarray since we moved here. Y'all just ignore that. But we store by part. Versus the bin method. I'm not a fan of the bin method. My wife helps ship, so she's not much of a fan of the bin method either. She complained about it, talked me into doing it like this, and now I am so glad we do. One of the best things that I've found for keeping your cables and your harnesses and stuff, hang them on a wall, some pegboard. It's the clutter table. That's all it's good for. Cables, belts. I mean, for the most part, people buy just about everything. The used sprockets don't sell too well. We keep our stuff labeled colored wise, so the inventory that you see with a blue tag is this year, 2022, from February to, what is it? This month is March, April? It's April. So we use the custom SKU, April 2022. Helps with it a little bit. So like our white labels are from the previous, I do them every 9 months, so October 2022. Yellow labels you don't see much of. Those yellow, purple, December 2020. Yellow, purple, green, red are all from 2018, 19, 2020. But as you can see, most of that stuff, it's already gone. It's nice to be able to look at the inventory with the labels and just kind of be able to see how much is old, how much is new. I don't want to hold a whole bunch of inventory that isn't going to sell. So when you notice certain parts, the same parts over and over, like the Suzuki Ozark 250s, the rear end is a good selling part on them, and the seat, if you can find a good seat, and the head. Otherwise, the rest of that bike's pretty much worthless. They're hard to sell. The parts are cheap. It's expensive. Just not worthwhile. This is my shop helper's bike. I caught it on fire. Whoops. But your best bet is just sticking with good machines to part out. The 4Trax 300s, from what I've seen, these part out very well local. They don't part out that well on eBay. I mean, the parts do sell, but for anyone who knows how to, if you're trying to price competitively, a lot of this isn't worth nothing. It's just not worth the cost of parting it out versus the cost of building it. These Bayou 400s, they share the same differential in the front. as the mules, making that differential very expensive. The cylinder head is the same from 93 up to 2002. The Prairies, the Bayou 400s, and I'm wanting to say there's another one in there, but I might be wrong. These Honda Foremans, these are very good ones to part out. The heads, they bring good money. The cases, there's a lot of people still running these Foremans, so if you get a good gauge and all of that, if you get it cheap, the body work, it doesn't matter. You buy ugly ones. And these Grizzly 600s, they're pretty good too. The Vinsons, any machine that is just overall a piece of junk from the factory, these bring good money, parted out. And it just so happens that Suzuki is a piece of junk. The headlights are like 50 bucks a pop. I want to say the clutch, the primary clutch is $200. The ECU is like $300. Fuel tank's rather expensive. If the swing arm is actually in good shape with good bearings, that's about $300. The downside with all the ATV stuff, it is very expensive to ship. These do part out well, but he bought that for a little too much for me to be able to buy it to part out. The 420s do all right. Anything that makes a lot of Chinese parts don't do too well. I picked this up yesterday. This is a YZ85 of 2007. The motor is still in the back of my truck getting rained on. I'm gonna tear it completely down. I picked this up for 200 bucks. For anybody who's into pitters, the triple tree setup with these forks on like a TTR 125 are a really nice setup. Very sought after. All right, so that about wraps it up. If you have an idea, or if you have a question about what do you buy, like how do you tear it down, we're gonna be making some videos about that here. Doing some tear downs, some technical questions. How do you get this off? You know, some of these, once you get to it sitting here for all these years, these brake drums are seized. So what we'll do is we're just going to take and beat all of it off just to save the differential. The rest of it, it's trash, it's whatever. And then all the remainder, it ends up being scrap metal, which in turn is another form of revenue into this. But although it is not very much, it is money. You got to get rid of it somehow, and it beats filling up your dumpster. The only thing I've found that's kind of difficult to get rid of are the old junk wheels and tires, the ones that just they're not worth anything. They're not worth shipping. A lot of times you stick it out the street, they disappear. Somebody, I don't know, crackheads, hoarders, I don't know. I've always stuck them out at the street and they just, they're gone. So I'll make a few more videos. If you let me know what you want to see, and I'll make a video. Thanks.